The sacred texts! The sacred text! Oh, were they page turners though, Tanner? Were they page turners, Tanner? Welcome back, everybody. I probably got real loud because we're trying out new setup, new equipment. Welcome back, everybody, to another happy landing. If you guys are looking at me and I'm looking down here a couple times, it's because Tanner's been moved down here for me. But you guys are seeing me here, so I apologize if that happens. If you're listening on YouTube, if you're listening on audio, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to get loud no matter what.
I can't believe I just gave you the free will to say that quote.
I like that quote. I think it's funny. I like when Yoda's like, "Were they page turners? How many times do you read those bad boys?" Never, Luke. You lazy. Welcome back, everybody. Another happy landing. Before we get started, thank you to our movie meal patrons. You guys are absolute studs. To Steve and Kimberly, you guys rock. Please go get some movie meals merchandise. I've got a couple more. We have special Valentine's Day ones coming. Those will flash on the screen or available now at Teespring. All the links will be in the description. So go check those out because they're awesome. I mean, I wore this to sleep. I'm gonna be honest with you. I slept in this because it's just so comfy. I was a little cold. I was like, I just couldn't go in the movie meals one.
You also wanted to be able to just wake straight up and go back upstairs.
Yep. So, guys, please go get some of our merch and join the Patreon. It would really help Kyle and I out quite a bit. So, another happy landing. We're here. Tanner, welcome. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. Surprisingly awake right now because we didn't just wake up and go straight into it.
Yeah, we took a little bit of time to figure some tech out. We're trying a few things. We're gonna mess around, have a good time. Remember, guys, you can find us on YouTube. There, we do clip outs. We do the full show. We're also on Spotify, Apple, as well as Google Podcast. Right, that's the Pocket Caster is Google.
Pocket Cast.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So go check us out. Let's get into it. We finished part 2 of the High Republic. So we're going to discuss part 2 of that novel here, and I'll throw it to Tanner right off the bat because I've done enough talking. Tanner, what did you think of part 2? I know you had you were digging part 1. You had a couple issues. How did you dig part 2?
Part 2, I would say probably around. I would probably pitch it around the same point to be honest, but I still had a really good time with it. Maybe some of my I'll start off maybe with some of my minor gripes because I think some of my minor gripes from last week are now popping up in this week. That after our ship, the Legacy Run, blew apart into hyperspace, now we have the big issue that it is the rest of the pieces are appearing out of hyperspace at any random point of time, whenever, at whatever place that they want to be showing up. And it seems, again, it still seems a little slightly universe breaking when you have just a ship that falls apart. All of a sudden, the pieces of it are winding up across the galaxy. Yeah. But on the flip side of that, it's like, I don't know. On the flip side, it's like, man, I think it's fine as well because Han Solo brought up a couple times in his video, or not in his video. We're recording video. No, he had brought up that like if you miscalculated, then you'll wind up in multiple sectors. It wind up in some sort of into a nebula or inside of a planet. Yeah. So I mean, I guess that point makes sense, but it just turns into why don't we do this more, or like why don't villainous organizations try to threaten with that? But I'm getting inkling. The one thing that does actually make me think it's slightly better is it seems like we're getting inklings that they might solve this issue, and we'll see. Now, I'm trying to remember this, but it was actually caused by the Nihil, correct?
Yeah.
But unintentionally so.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because we start off with a discussion with the Chancellor of the Republic, and she's
Uh-huh.
trying to talk to people to find out what's happening in the galaxy, and what can we do to solve this ongoing crisis. And then so it seems as though from there we get a little bit of like discussion of the Nihil and what's going on with them, which I really like that. Uh, that the whole like Mad Max dudes in space. I'm all about that. I don't know. What were your thoughts on the Nihil there, buddy boy?
Just whacked my mic, so that probably sucked for audio listeners. Just wanted to sit crisscross applesauce. Uh, I really like the Nihil. I'm excited that we are not going in the direction of the Sith like I was nervous about. Um, I'm really enjoying the story overall. I like the idea of the hyperspace. I think it's unique and a cool way to kind of handle a story like this without being able to use Sith and make it interesting and fun. So I'm enjoying it. I get your trepidations, but I've just enjoyed it from just a simple story. I like I like all the Jedi we follow. If I have any gripe, it's one little moment where I can't remember which Jedi, but one of the Jedi has a golden lightsaber, and I'm weirded out by that. To me, that's too much in the canon because one of them has a golden lightsaber, and I want to know why. And I want to know what the new canon is saying golden lightsaber means because Rey has one. I know what white is, but I would like more context with it, which I need to look up. Which I tried briefly when I had a couple minutes, but ran out of time trying to look because all it did was pop up stuff about Rey. But um, but yeah, one thing, and I know we talked about this briefly last night when we were playing some Call of Duty, but I'm not huge into this whole "We Are the Republic." I don't necessarily
Yeah,
love it,
that.
but I also do kind of like it. I think it's an interesting take on what the Republic was like at this time, that they are kind of so self-absorbed that that's their motto. It's like we're all the Republic, so we all have to. And it has a good message around it. Like I kind of wish we were talking with Yoda, and I'd love to hear Yoda's thoughts on "We Are All the Republic," like some quippy line at the council meeting. Um,
Right.
and this is 200 years before what we know, right? So
Yep.
you assume, I mean, he's got to be in his 700s, so he's got to be on the council by now. Um, but there's one thing I do want to point out that I loved. I loved. And it is, I can't remember the Jedi's name because, guys, I'm bad with names and I'm bad with books. Even on Audible, it's still hard for me, your boy, with books. Um, but
But dude, to that point, like you're talking about, there are so many characters in this to try and
yeah,
keep track of, and it's not. I found an easier time actually keeping track of characters in Game of Thrones, but when you have such fantastical Star Wars names in this one, they tend to
yeah.
blend together at times.
If you know Game of Thrones, when I finally get to listening to those books on audio, because I have the first one and want to, and I've been wanting to for a while, but I've seen the show, so I've done so much research over the years about Game of Thrones, like watched the kind of history of Westeros that we were funny enough talking about last night and things like that, where I kind of know most of the characters, so I'll have an easier time hearing them because I've already been introduced. But this is my first introduction. So I assume the new Claudia Gray novel follows the same people. So it'll start to pick up a little better. But one of the characters says something in this chapter late, um, where he talks about his conflict with the dark side and how the way he handles the light is by being certain. And I really liked that. I thought that was super cool and super unique that he is certain that this is not okay, or he is certain that this is what he needs to do. And I really liked that take that you are certain in yourself and others so much that you know it's the good thing to do. And I just thought that was an interesting take, where in Star Wars, I get it. Everybody wants it's black and white. I'm good. I'm bad. Good will win at the end of the day. I like a little bit of this inner monologue struggle, and that's why I like The Last Jedi. I like the inner monologue struggle, and I liked that part in the book more than almost any other part. Was that kind of inner monologue conversation where he's talking about his own struggles with the light and the dark and how he takes it, because I think that's so relatable to every day, where every single day you were trying to figure out your own way to cope with things, if that makes sense. Or to get through your day. Like, I, as a teacher, I view teaching so differently than every other teacher. When I tell them the way I view it, they kind of laugh at me. They're like, that's kind of funny. But to me, it makes sense. So that's just what I took from him. And that's my favorite moment in the whole story so far.
It's a great moment. And I mean, obviously with our disagreement of things, weirdly enough, when it comes to The Last Jedi, that like finding the balance, or sometimes finding the middle ground, I've always actually found an incredibly interesting point in Star Wars. I'm all for the light and the dark, but I'm also there for the middle and the struggle that these characters have. Because I mean, I think the biggest thing just about Star Wars and the Force has always been this that struggle between being pulled in one direction, that it is so hard to be on the light side. It is so hard to be good, but and it's so easy to just be absorbed into the dark side, especially for a light side user. And that's, I mean, I also don't envy the Jedi in that regard, because I mean, they basically have to be on like perfect most of the time. I mean, obviously, like, they're people with flaws and they have their own struggles and everything, but without proper correction, it is very easy for someone to go into the path of the dark side. The dark side's very easy to get into compared to constantly trying to tread onto the light side, which is always made for really, really interesting storytelling. Man, there was another interesting moment.
Time out, Tanner. Are you saying that this Zoom is about to end?
I am.
Yeah, I don't know why, but it is. So I'll send a new link. Don't stop. We don't need to stop the Zencast recording. We just need to clap again, and it can all be in one long thing, and I'll find it and splice it. But I can still hear you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're doing it on Zen. That's badass. Let's fucking get it.
I don't think there's...
Okay.
Oh, I can put footnotes in here? That's awesome.
Let's fucking go. Footnotes in what? In Zencaster?
Yeah.
Oh, so are you like putting a note that this is where we're starting over?
Yep, I put a timeline footnote at 14 minutes and 48 seconds is where the cut audio needs to happen. Or it's a little bit
around
past that,
there.
but
yeah.
Right.
Oh, that'll help me. If you want...
That's awesome.
If you want, since you can do footnotes, if you want to, if you don't mind, while we film the show, put a footnote where we start. I just sent you the new Zoom link. When we start a new topic. Because if you wrote like we finished book here, finished droid top 5 droids here, then it would I could start doing time codes easier, and it would just help me overall in clip outs. If you don't mind doing that.
No problem.
Since we stopped, we're
gonna have to... Oh man.
Yeah, we're probably
There's a lot that we're gonna have to figure out with this.
An echo here. Okay. You can still hear me on Zencastr, right?
Yes. And I muted myself on this one.
Okay. All right. So
I think my video recording is still recording. Yes, it is. Sweet.
okay, let me just double check my camera and make sure it's still going. Just for some reason that it didn't stop. Don't hit the mic this time, Al, with your fucking big ass knee. Yep, it is. Okay. All right. So
I wonder we should look into that. I wonder if that was a new update that Zoom did where they're requiring you to
now it's just 40 minutes overall
right.
because we didn't start recording till pretty late. But here we go. All right. You ready? One.
Okay, I'm putting a new what 2 seconds. Timeline. Audio. Start. Okay.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. I'll make sure those sync up there. All right, so another interesting moment you said you had.
Oh, another one of the other interesting moments that I had was there. So as things are coming throughout, and they finally find out that there are other pieces that are going to be emerging from hyperspace at any point in time, at any place throughout the galaxy. It's hyperspace is like its own plane, and where time and everything doesn't move exactly the same. So they could just show up all of a sudden. So they need to plot the trajectory of each one of these via a simulation. And one of the guys, again, don't remember his name, but he asks for roughly about, what was it, 150,000 droids, Navicomputer droids to computate through the whole thing. So that way he could predict where the other emergencies are going to be happening. Which I thought was pretty interesting, pretty cool. But then as it starts going on, and a lot of his droids are actually just overheating and exploding. He expected that he was going to be losing some droids, but they were going at a much more alarming and quicker rate than he was anticipating.
Yeah.
The part that I found particularly interesting about this part was when the two Jedi are talking to each other, and they're like, "What does he need?" Well, the droids are exploding and they're overheating. So let's help this guy out. And then they end up using the Force together to create effectively a storm to not only blow a bunch of wind and then start to rain around the area. And I loved it. It felt very Star Wars, and
I like
it's nothing out of the realm of possibility. But I got to bring up there are some people that are really not crazy about it. They're like, oh
Really?
man, it's just breaking it. It's the Force isn't supposed to work like that, and it's like, we've seen the Force do some crazy things, and you don't think that two Jedi Masters being able to somewhat manipulate the weather around them would really be that universe
Those are the
breaking?
same people that are mad that in The Last Jedi they were like, Luke's gonna use the Force, so he's gonna grab a Star Destroyer and he's gonna pull it down from space and crash it because Luke Skywalker's Luke Skywalker, but they can't make a storm by pushing wind in a circle. Yeah, those are just idiots.
I don't get it, man.
Idiots.
I don't get it. It's I mean, I know I've got my own minor gripes, but it's like I'm also not going to make a big hullabaloo about it because you know what? It's Star Wars and we're having fun. It's a good time.
That would be a fun top 5 in a future episode. Our top 5 favorite uses or moments of the Force would be
okay.
Kind of cool.
Do we stick to movies? We can
do it all. We can do it all.
Okay. Because I know there are some weird ass Force powers out there, man. Like beyond the extended canon. And I really dig them, but they're really cool.
Yeah. So the book, we only have two hours left, pretty much a little over 2 hours. So we'll review part 3 next week, and then we talked about watching everything from the High Republic show that's on this novel, and talking about that for the following episode, and then starting the Claudia Gray novel, the sequel novel. So fans,
dude, I'm really hoping for a cast. I'm really hoping for a cast down. I the if the Jedi have done anything, and we've seen from the prequels as well, is that there was a point in time where the Jedi thought that they were really kind of full of themselves at that point in
Yeah.
time. And in the when the Galactic Civil War and Luke comes about, I both Yoda and Obi-Wan have that realization of like, no, we were at such a high point with the Jedi, and we screwed it up.
Yeah.
There was way too many problems, and Luke really well, I mean, not anymore. At least old extended canon, he like came back and really kind of showed what it was like, that you can actually have attachment, that you can have love, but you just can't make it unhealthy.
Yeah. You're
You
talking
can't be
in
afraid of loss.
some of the EU stuff where he has children and everything.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Uh, and they still kind of he doesn't do the attachment thing. Obviously, they take him in a completely different direction with the Last Jedi. Of
Mhm.
him being like, no attachment is the way to do it. The end of the Jedi is the way to do this. But even he mentions, which is still a line I really like, when he talks to Rey about how in their hubris, the Jedi let a Darth Lord of the Sith get under their nose, rise to power, and destroy them because they were so cocky within themselves. And I do like that take. And some of
Yeah.
those old Luke novels with kind of the old like with his kids and stuff would be fun to go back and read. I'm enjoying this reading we're doing.
Fun time.
But should we move on to we had two little top 5 lists we were going to come up with this week? Should we move on to
Let's do
those?
it, baby.
All right. Well, which
Let's
one do
do
you
it.
want to start with? Should we start with droids?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start with droids.
All right. We're going to do our top 5 droids in Star Wars, and then we're going to do our top 5 characters in Star Wars. And hey, a droid could pop up on both lists here. You could have R2 on 2 lists. Who knows? But we'll start with droids. We'll go 5 up. You go 5. I'll go 5. 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, and then we'll say our one
Solid.
or something at the same time. So Tanner, who is your bottom 5 droid?
My bottom 5 droid would happen to be that would be Gonk, the Gonk droid.
Would you please explain to the viewers at home who don't know who Gonk is?
So Gonk is a trash can with legs, and he's kind of a joke answer in here because he is nothing but a background character that waddles around. He's just a dude in a trash can going Gonk,
Yeah.
Gonk.
Yeah.
And also, fun fact, he's the dude that replenishes your ammo in Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Oh, I know.
I love my Gonk droid, and I'm the kind of Star Wars fan that if they came out with a Gonk movie, you bet your sweet bippy that I'll be there in line. Woo!
I want a buddy cop movie. Salacious Crumb and Gonk have to team up to solve a mystery.
BB-8 is really cute and he's really fun, and I almost was thinking about putting him in this list, but
you don't have BB-8 on the list. Wow.
I don't have BB-8 on the list.
Wow.
It's cute, and I really loved him in Force Awakens, but man, I just with some of like the over the top abilities that I feel like BB-8 was actually doing, it just started to lose me a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's my joke answer.
Honorable mention, because I don't remember their name, to the little like robot cars in the Empire that always scurry away like the Roombas.
Mouse droids.
Yeah, the mouse droids. My number 5 is BB-8. Funny enough, and it's because of how much I love him in The Force Awakens. And I like him. I like how he's used just fine in Last Jedi. I mean, I don't like the Canto Bite stuff, but it's fine. I like that he goes with Finn, which I think is interesting, and he stays with Poe, because one of the things I don't like from Rise of Skywalker is how they give me a second here.
Oh, good.
one of the things I like in Rise of Skywalker, or I don't like in Rise of Skywalker, is I don't enjoy that. Like in the very first moment, they like when Rey and Poe get back together, that they argue about BB-8 as if it's like their child. And it's like, look, I get that Rey had a special connection with BB-8 from the first one, but BB-8 is Poe's droid. BB-8's been with Poe forever. Like I love their banter, so he dropped off a bit for me, but I do really like BB-8. I love the way he's used in Force Awakens is so perfect. His humor, his banter, I mean, his little thumbs up with the flame is still just so great. But yeah,
Right.
I have at number 5 BB-8. So
If I was being
oh,
serious, that I would
I can't hear
probably
you,
have
Tanner.
to. What?
That might be a me issue here.
It shows that I'm still recording on Zencaster here.
All right, I can hear you now, I believe.
You can hear me? Okay.
I can. I apologize.
Huh. That was weird. Anyways,
Yeah.
I'll put that in the footnotes.
That's all good.
Perfect. Okay. Anyways, I Gonk's a little bit of a joke answer, but I would probably have to put BB-8 in there. But he's of the famous droids out there, he's probably on the lower end for me. Anyways, so moving off to number 4. My number 4 would be good old 3PO.
My number 4 is also C-3PO.
Funny.
Um,
He's always been a good foil with R2, but man, I just love him. Also, Anthony Daniels just kills that role, but there are just some times that you really want to shut that droid off, and I remember one of the first times watching Empire Strikes Back, and then he was like losing his mind in the asteroid field, and then the Han reaches back and just shuts him off. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah. I love 3PO. I love the way I really love how he is used in Force Awakens, to give some credit to these newer movies, because I love when he just kind of pops up in that moment. I think that is great Star Wars 3PO humor. I hate how he's used in Rise of Skywalker, funny enough, JJ. You went from knowing how to use him to not at all. Man, it would have been... I think C-3PO would be an all-time elite droid if they actually wiped his mind in Rise of Skywalker and kept him permanently wiped and starting over. I think it would have been a great moment that would have worked so well. But I love him. He's so funny in that original trilogy. And yes, there are moments you just really want to shut him off, but like him getting on Chewie's back when he's all dismantled and Chewie's running around trying to fix it while trying to save the day is just so great. I will always love 3PO. 3PO will always have to be in a top 5 for me. There's no way he's not going to be in the top 3 for me anymore, but I do love 3PO.
He's classic.
Yeah.
You can't ignore that.
All right, so who is your number 3, sir?
That would be R2.
Wow, you just don't even love the original trilogy. Are you even a fan anymore? Are you even a fan?
I again love R2, and he's always been at like the heart of it in the beginning, and he was my favorite droid. But man, there are some other droids that they've been coming out with that just they blew my mind with how much they captured my imagination. And they're so good. But you cannot beat the original, like the beeps and the bloops from R2 in the classic.
Yeah.
Oh man. He's kind of he's got a little bit of a lip to him, but he's your classic droid that is so iconic that you just can't forget him. And it's probably a travesty that I have him as low as I do on this list.
Shout out to honorable mention R4, Obi-Wan Baloney's favorite companion. When R4 gets ripped his head off in the beginning of episode 3, and Obi-Wan just looks back and he goes, "Oh dear, Like I just,
Yeah.
it's so great. Anyway,
Also,
my
also
number.
the little detail that they give of like R4's still alive, but he has like a copper head that's been put on.
Yeah, I love it.
Um,
My number 3 is K2SO. I think K2SO knocks it out of the park. I think Alan Tudyk knocks it out of the park. I think they hired the right man for the job, to the point where when we hear that he's not in Andor for the first season, the first reaction you have is upset because you want him to be in it. And I bet he'll be in it eventually. Or he's going to be in like the big moment at the climax. But I really love K2SO, and like IG is IG-11, right? Is the one in Mando. IG-88 is the one
that's
in
correct.
Empire. IG-11 almost made my list too, and I almost put him in here, but I just ended up not, because I just didn't get as much with him. Um, as long, because he's only in 3 episodes, 2 episodes, so he gets maybe an hour and 20 minutes,
Right.
where K2SO gets 2.5. And I love K2SO. I think he's so funny when he does the whole banter where he's pretending to be an Imperial droid, and he's like, "Shut up, human!" and he like
Silence.
smacks him. Yeah, he
Not
just whacks him. It's so great. Or
silence.
when
And if you mouth off again, there's a fresh one where that came from.
yes. And when Jin is like, "Hey, you need to stay here," and he's like, "No." Like I love K2SO. I love his sarcastic humor. I think it's what they were trying to get again with L3, but it just didn't work. Um, but anyway, so number 2, who do you have for number 2, my friend?
Number 2 would be BD1. My little buddy.
My number 2 is BD1.
No way.
Yeah. I love Pikachu in space. That's who he is.
He is legitimately the most expressive droid that has ever exist.
It's true.
Do you have a little BD1?
No, I was looking for
Oh.
a pen to play with, because I need something
Oh,
to play with, because I'm
got it.
ADHD.
No, he is just from the little like his little the little antenna ears that they give him, and oh man, and just from I'm amazed that the developers were able to give so much personality and so much character to this just tiny 2-legged droid that really on it like gameplay wise literally doesn't do much of anything for you.
He just gives you stims and does the math.
Gives you stims. Yeah, exactly. Which I mean, is actually an important thing, but he's not like directly involved in combat. That's all on you, as Cal Kestis says. But the cutscenes that you get with him, they are so heartwarming, and they break your heart in multiple times. Like I was dying when we come to find out that his memory was wiped from his previous owner of I'm totally forgetting his name, but the Jedi Master that you're following around.
Yeah.
And he like intentionally wiped him, and he's like, "Hey, I want you to go off on to your next user, and I want you to treat them well and guide them with my knowledge that I have."
Look, I'm telling you, whoever was part of the game development and story development for this is a massive fan of Pokemon, because what they just said is, look, we're going to go bye-bye Butterfree, and we're going to see what happens after, because that's basically what it is. It's the bye-bye Butterfree for him, and then it's the new kid who gets him with Cal, and he literally is Pikachu, and that is what I love, because as a kid, I loved R2. It was like, man, having an R2 would be so cool. And they try to do it with BB-8, but it just doesn't work as well. Because in this, they literally say, let's make him Pikachu. Let's make him a puppy or a kitten. Let's make him physically like that as a droid, and make him act that same way. I mean, somebody in that room literally had to have walked into that meeting and said he needs to be Pikachu. And all of the big execs went, what is Pikachu? And then they didn't do that because they work for a gaming company and they all know who Pikachu is. But that it works so well. The second I saw that in the game, and I mean, the second BB-8 shows up and you get into him a little bit, the first thing I think of is, man, I would love that. Like, it's one thing to have like a physical mouse on you. It's another thing to have a little droid. That would be so cool. Um, I love BD1. He immediately, when I finished that game, I knew he was my second favorite droid of all time, and he has stayed as my second favorite droid. I love him.
This is super funny. Our number threes and our number ones are completely flip flop because I have K2SO as my number one.
I figured.
Dude, Alan Tudyk as that droid is he just slays it. I'm a huge Alan Tudyk fan, and every single moment that K2SO is on the screen, he steals the show. He has like some of the best line, he has some of the most incredible just like physicality to bring to the role as well. And not to mention, like, he's a droid that has a funny side that is also exuding this physical presence. Like, the minute we see him for the first time, he picks up Jin with one arm, slams to the ground, and the first thing we get is, "Congratulations, you're being rescued."
It's so good. It's such classic Star Wars. That's such a classic Star Wars line. I love K2SO.
And also, like the moment that I was talking about, it's like, and if you mouth off again, there's a fresh one where that came from. That was all off the cuff for Alan Tudyk, and it just, I don't know, it just endears me to him. Also, like the minute he just decides, you know what, I'm gonna go follow these guys, and Jyn Erso just blasts another security droid. He walks up behind him and is like, "Did you not know that was me?"
It's so good, man. I can't wait to rewatch Rogue One. But yeah, my number one is R2-D2. My love for R2 extends just, I can't even explain it. Obviously, the way he is in the original trilogy, he is the focal point of everything in that first movie of getting the plot going. He's one of the first characters you see with Leia putting in the plans. He's sarcastic without having to talk. He's funny without having to talk. With his noise, his beeps, everything you were saying. But then as a kid, I couldn't get enough R2-D2 as a kid in those prequel movies. I mean, I understand the older fans. And again, it's so funny that we went from the fans defending the prequels because they were our nostalgia to now us joining the older fans with now prequels and original against the sequels.
Right.
But I like when he spills the oil all over the droids, man. Like, as a 12-year-old, I'm dying laughing. And when he gets his little jetpacks out, it's like the coolest thing when you're playing Lego Star Wars. You're like, I gotta switch to R2, I gotta get the jetpacks. Like, it's the best. And I don't like that he's not used in Rise of Sky or in the Force Awakens. I understand why they're not using him. They want BB-8, and BB-8 is so charming it works, but it is a bit of a bummer. And at the very end, it's such a cop-out with R2 just being like, wait a minute, I have the map the entire time. It's just kind of dumb. And then I actually, again, we brought it up so many times I'll never not, but the way R2, if you just isolate R2-D2 in The Last Jedi, I think that is some of the best R2 we get. If you're going to get a grumpy Luke, the way to get him back is R2-D2 playing that message again. I think that's nostalgia used the best way. I think it is one of the most powerful moments in that whole movie, and I love that R2, and I love Luke's reaction when he sees him, when he gets all high, R2, he just gets all excited, and then they have banter back and forth, the old school immediate banter, and then he plays the message. I just love it. And then he's not really in Rise of Skywalker, so he doesn't do much. But I love R2. He will always be the first droid for me, as much as I love BD1. I would love the two of them to be together. That would be so cool. That'd be so cool. BD1. Man, could you imagine BD1 like sitting on the top of R2-D2 as they're like moving around? That would be awesome, man. But yeah, that's my love with R2-D2.
I completely get it. Again, these top three ones, they are constantly rotating for my favorite, because the minute I don't know what it was. Like between K2SO and BD1, they just captured my imaginations from the moment they were there. Like,
and they were fresh.
Yes, they're very fresh. They're very fresh. And R2 did exactly the same thing to me as a kid.
Yeah, I get it.
And I just love seeing my little buddy run around on the screen. And here's the thing: it's like depending on which movie I've probably recently watched, this list is probably going to change.
Yeah,
Because I
go
know
ahead.
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back and watch like New Hope, and I'm gonna go.
I'm just playing around with a tripod.
It's all good. I'm gonna go back and watch New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, and I'm gonna be like, you know what? Gosh, I have to change it. It's back to R2. I just know it. That's exactly.
And
that's
then one
exactly how it
off day,
goes.
you're gonna play Fallen Order, and should we
Yeah,
do that?
81.
Oh my gosh, should we make that part of it since it's canon? Should we have to do a run through for Fallen Order?
Dude,
At that
run
in
through
the
a Fallen
timeline?
Order. Run through a Fallen Order. Record our face reactions while doing it. Oh man,
That's something to consider. We're going to talk about it, movie meals.
I
We're
love
going to talk about
I
it.
love that. Anyways,
Let's talk about it.
Uh,
Yes. So, should we switch to the final list for this episode? Get this list out of the way and then call it a day.
I'm gonna say I'm happy. I'm really happy we're doing characters, but this was one of the hardest ones to do for me. Because man, this would be a different list if it was heroes.
It is,
versus
and I just changed my list. I just completely changed my list. Wow.
This is a little. I'm firing from the hip on this one.
I'm going to do things you do not like. I'm going to make you mad in this list.
Oh, cool.
All right. I will give you an honorable mention if you would like, because I'm going to take one. Do you have any honorable mentions, or do you want me to start this time? I'll start this time, and then you can think about it.
Go and start. I don't have an honorable mention, but
my honorable mention is going to be Rey, Finn, and Poe, because I love them, but they're not in this. Rey I had at 5 until I just decided that I remembered a very, very important character, and I kicked Rey off the list pretty quick. I also just remembered another character, and now I'm very conflicted.
Oh my god, me too! No!
Maybe we should have made a top 10, Tanner. Maybe we should have made a top 10.
Let's just fire off
do
what
the
we
top
have right
5.
now, because this was off the cuff for both of us.
Yeah, let's redo these lists after we rewatch everything. I think would be a fun idea.
Yes. I agree.
So Rey, all those new trilogy characters, Kylo, I put in my honorable mentions. I don't have in my top 10 Rey, or my top 5. Rey would have been in the top 5 had I not remembered that the original trilogy exists. Lando was not going to make this list as much as I love Lando. I don't know if you're going to let me do this, so I'm going to be mean. I'm going to be mean. I can't kick some people off this stupid list. I'm not kicking 1, 2, 3, or 4 off. So I needed to. I was going to be a turd, and I was going to say 3 people for my number 5. But I won't. I'll pick one of them, and I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be taboo here. I'll pick one for my number 5. So in my honorable mentions are gonna be Han Solo and Leia Skywalker.
What is wrong with you?
You'll hear.
What is wrong with you? Oh my god!
Leia Organa Skywalker, whatever her last name is.
I am heartbroken. What?
You'll find out. Well, I wanted to have a 3-way tie, Tanner, but you wouldn't let me. My number.
Mister, I'm gonna go ahead and put the entire sequel cast in honorable mentions.
Yes. Well, I had Rey at 5, and then I remembered that Han and Leia and Chewbacca exist. And Chewbacca, I'm going to give the 5 spot because I love Chewbacca so much. I love Chewbacca's banter. I love him in Solo. I love him in all the movies. And I think he gets, again, Rise of Skywalker would have been so ballsy had they killed him. And man, I would have been so heartbroken. But I knew when that ship blew up, I was like, there were 2 ships. He's on the other ship. I was like, JJ's not ballsy enough to do it. And I think it would have made Chewie's
5 minutes afterwards, or less than that. It's like, oh,
yes, we don't even get time to sit there and think. about him being dead, and I think they should have killed him. I think it would have made his story incredible if that's how it happened. If he was the motivation, oh my gosh. But I'm gonna give Chewie the 5 spot, and you'll hear why I don't. Who is above? I'm sure you can guess them, but Han. I love Han. I love Leia.
I'm happy that Chewie made your top 5 because this was such a hard. Honestly, like now that we've been thinking about it, this is one of the hardest lists I've had.
We will do a top 20. Let's do a top 20.
Chewie has legitimately been one of my favorite characters of all time. Like I value.
And he doesn't get the credit he deserves.
Of all the side characters, he is 100% my favorite. Yeah, 110%.
Honestly, I don't even know if I consider him a side character. He's a main character, but I think the way when you look at the sequel trilogies, I think they view him as a side character, and I think just fans tend to view him as a side character. But I think any deep cut Star Wars nerd understands that Chewbacca is a main character, and that's why killing him off would have worked so well because he is a main character, and that would have been a gut punch. That would have hurt. Oh,
the only reason that I ever say that he on a technical level he is a side character because he doesn't get he doesn't get any like honest to god speaking lines. He has to speak through Han, and he's our big lovable furry guy that gets an okay amount of screen time, not as much as Luke, Leia, or Han.
Hey, real quick, R.I.P. to the legend Peter Mayhew.
Yes,
to the absolute legend. R.I.P. to the legend.
Day for me.
It is, and Johannes does a great job playing Chewie in the new trilogies movies. I think he does a great job with Chewie. But Peter Mayhew, the legend, I think Johannes would agree. But Peter Mayhew, sorry, continue.
You might slightly hate me for this then, but I have to do Chewie. I have to do. I'm gonna break the rules a little bit, and Chewie has to be my number 6.
He's an honorable mention for you. Fair enough. Yeah. I understand it.
I wish I want him to be higher on this list, but if I just put him and Chewie, or like Han and Chewie, like constantly together with each other. Yeah, it's the inseparable two kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to put him with Han in number 5. Han really should be my number 5, but
even past like R2 and C-3PO, I remember seeing Chewie for the first time and it was like, oh my god, I want to friend Chewie so bad. He's so cool. Too.
Yeah, he's awesome, man.
You could just have like a big fuzzy buddy that's always following you around, always got your back, man. What a guy. All
right, who's your number 5?
Samwise the Star Wars universe. Anyways, number 5, you're probably gonna hate me for this one. Luke Skywalker.
That's interesting that Luke is that low. I don't hate you, but that's interesting. Luke Skywalker, man. It's Luke.
I know. Luke Skywalker. I'm not looking at the right boy from the original trilogy is my number 5. Again, I'm gonna. This is a little bit of a cop out, but these next 3 are constantly changing for me. If he was handled a little bit differently in the sequel trilogy, then I might have him higher. I just might.
It's fair. I get the gripes with the way he's used. I get it.
I mean, from a story, okay. Here's another thing about this is from a story's perspective. There was a great video essay that I watched on Luke Skywalker from The Last Jedi when that whole divisive thing was happening. Just Right came out with 2 videos talking about him as a character. And he really kind of like put Luke in a new perspective of me. Is he the Luke from old? I would disagree. I don't think he is the Luke from old. Is he a well-written character for that moment? Yes, I would say he is. He doesn't feel like old Luke to me. However, on a story perspective and as something new and fresh, it is good and it is interesting. but I just personally would like something different, but it's still really good to watch. Um, anyways, Luke, yeah, if I loved and was enamored with him when I was young, I was like, I want to escape and I want to get out of here. One of my favorite shots of all of the entire Star Wars canon is just Luke looking out and
At
seeing
the
the twin
horizon.
suns on the horizon as he looks to see where adventure might lie.
Yeah.
And oh my god, every time I see that scene, I get so emotional and it's so good. But there are just a few other people that are a little bit higher on this list for me.
My number 4 is Anakin slash Darth Vader, Luke's daddy. Um, and I put them as one. I told you off air I was going to put them as one because it's their whole arc. Um, and I just love it. I get the prequels stink and like how he's used in 1, 2 are not great. There are moments in episode 2 with him that I do really like when he kind of has those small moments with Padme talking about attachment and trying to justify why he is doing what he's doing. Um,
Mm.
but then I actually I like him a lot in his cocky side in um, uh, episode 3. I think Clone Wars does him some great justice. And you start to really see his turn in the show. And then the way he's used in Rebels and obviously the original trilogy to his ending, I think is just arguably the best arc in Star Wars. It's really his story. And it's just not really continued in the next one. But
It's
in the
really deepened
sequel
by Rise of
trilogy,
Skywalker.
ugh, ugh, um, could have done that so much better. And I think Obi-Wan is going to do it a lot. Do him some serious hard justice. I know I have a little bit of nerves, but I love Anakin's story from start to finish. Loved it as a kid. I love it now. He's a Padawan. You were like when he, in episode 2, it's like, man, I just like I kind of want like as a kid in episode 2 and 3, it was like I want to be him, but I know I'll never be that cool. Like he's the cool kid. Um,
Right.
and I love Anakin, and I love him as a villain because he's so menacing. And I know they're played by different actors throughout the time, but I love it. I love him. So I'm putting Anakin and Darth Vader at the number 4 spot. Who do you got?
Surprised he's that low on the list. My number 4 is Leia.
Fair.
I do.
Fair. Sorry, I don't have her
Unfortunately. What? Oh
Sorry.
God, that's right.
I'm sorry. I do love my princess. I do love her.
If there's something that I just love about Leia, and she's our princess. She's our princess, but she's got some fight in her. And
yes.
If there's something, especially for the time period of when Star Wars was released, it was
She's
really
part of the big
awesome
3.
having this strong female character come out.
Yeah.
And it really kind of like one of the lines that I think really sums her up, which is kind of an off, a little bit of an off color, but it's just I love it because it just feels like it encapsulates her character. Somebody has to save our skins.
Yeah.
When they're escaping the Death Star, the other two are being a bunch of bumbling buffoons. She's like, okay, well, I got to take this into my own hands since you two are being idiots.
Yeah.
And pulls the blaster and then slaps a few rounds into the garbage chute, and then they go down.
I think it's there even earlier. I think it's her first line of dialogue when she walks up to Tarkin and says, "Oh, General Tarkin, I thought I smelled your foul stench on board." And she's trying to do that British accent. If you've ever heard that clip where she's being British, or then her next thing of when she first meets Luke, aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper? Like it's just. She's just the best, man. She's part of the big 3 in cinema history with her, Ripley, and Sarah Connor as showing that women can be hard BAs. And I couldn't agree more. I love Leia. I love how she is used in the original trilogy. I love her book. I've got her book back here. It's hidden by lightsabers. But I love Leia too. And I love that she finally gets her Jedi stuff, and it was one of the few moments of Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi that I do really love. Is I don't love her Superman fly, but I do love seeing her use the Force, and I do love that she was properly trained. Have you seen, real side note, I'm sorry I took over. Your quick side note, have you seen, there is a rumor going around that when Leia and him are training in Rise of Skywalker, he kind of gets distracted for a quick second, and he kind of has a pause moment, and then she gets the edge on him. And people think that it is the moment Grogu is sending out the signal, and they're on the planet with the giant beam, and that is what Luke gets distracted, and Leia doesn't, because she's not as in tune with the Force yet to sense something that strong. But that Luke senses it, and it kind of throws him off, and she gets the edge over him. Is a rumor going around, which I think is interesting. I just think it's kind of fun. I think that's a fun little like pretend that's canon moment. It makes me kind of like Rise of Skywalker 0.0001 more. But I took your thing over. I'm sorry. Continue with Leia.
I just wish they would accent. No, that's all. That's what I have to say to Leia. I love Carrie Fisher, and rest in peace.
Yes. R.I.P. to the Queen, to the princess.
That was such a another heartbreaking moment for me. But
I couldn't believe that one, man.
Love Leia.
I could not believe that one when she got sick.
Yeah.
And for her mom,
anyways,
legend Debbie Reynolds, to die as well so fast, it just heartbreaking. My number 3 is the greatest of them all, Yoda. Not Grogu, Yoda. I have to go Yoda. I love Yoda. I love Yoda in all of the movies. There's not any time Yoda's in, I'm in. I love Yoda. I love him. I know he might be a little low at 3, but he's great in the original trilogy, obviously. I love how he first shows up. You're making faces at me. What's wrong?
I didn't put Yoda on my list.
Get out of town. Get out of town. No! Tanner, no! You forgot the best of the best. Well, we all know Grogu's your number 1, so kick him off. Well, if you want to make adjustments, go ahead while I keep talking. But I love Yoda. If you don't make adjustments, I won't hate you.
I love Yoda. I'm not going to do adjustments, but there are 2 characters now that I'm like, son of a...
When Yoda first shows up, I absolutely love it. When he takes that stick and and R2 goes with the little claw in episode 5 and tries to take the thing from him, and he grabs his little walker and he's like, mine. I love it. I rewatched episode 5 when I was going through some stuff a few years ago, and I've loved that moment my whole life, but that was the humor I needed in that moment. And I love him in the original trilogy. I love him in the prequels. Getting to see him actually finally kick some butt. It's one of the few moments I really love from episode 2 is when he just moves his cloak and he just puts his little claw out and the lightsaber flies off of his hilt or his belt, and just he ignites it and takes his stance. It's awesome. And seeing him do all those flips, it's just, I loved it as a kid, and I love it now. And I wish he was used more in the sequel trilogy. I love how he is used. I love that he doesn't speak to Rey, because Rey is not his. Rey was not a Jedi that he trained, that he'll maybe offer some advice like he does with our boy. Why can't I think of his name? From Rebels. Who's the main character in Rebels? Ezra. I kept wanting to say Aaron, but that's from Attack on Titan. Ezra. Even when he speaks to Ezra, he doesn't. He gives some advice, but even he's kind of he's a little more reserved, because Ezra is not his student. And I love when he comes back and talks to Luke and says, you're still looking at the horizon. You are still not thinking of where you are, and you have made mistakes because of it. And you need to focus on now. And I love it. I love Yoda. I love the wise master that he is. And I don't want a Yoda movie, but I do love Yoda. I do kind of want to see Luke train Yoda, though.
It's a
But anyway,
travesty that I didn't put him on this list.
so who is your number 3?
Number 3, with shooting first, Mr. Han Solo himself.
Fair enough. I hate me for not having it on the list.
I, from the moment that I saw Han Solo, like, I know that I could never be a Han Solo, but man,
He's
like,
so cool.
I always aspired to want to be something like that. Just the cool, suave, smooth, smuggling gunslinger. Oh man, and Harrison Ford just kills that role. Even in Force Awakens, from like the moment we get him in A New Hope, all the way up to Force Awakens, I just love every single second that we ever get with Harrison Ford as that character, because he just kills that role.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah, so and good. I shout out to Alden. I think Alden nails Han Solo. I think Alden gets him. Agreed. I think he does a great job. I will say, over the few viewings of Force Awakens, I think he is great, but I do think he's a little more jokey than the Han we get. And I think they try to make him a little more jokey in Episode 7. But it works. He is funny and he's great. There are great comedy moments in there. But anyway, my number 2 is Luke Skywalker. I love Luke Skywalker. Oh, yeah. I love little whiny Luke. I love when people are like, Luke is not, he shouldn't be whiny, he shouldn't complain. It's like, clearly you didn't watch the original trilogy, because all he does is just complain. He is such his father's son. Like, I love that is intentional. Like, I love when that movement kind of hit, where it's intentional how Hayden Christensen handled Anakin. Because they're both whiny. They're both very whiny. But I love Luke. From the moment, you're right, when he stands out there and looks at the twin suns, to on his death when he sees the twin suns. I love him in Mando. And I get that that's the Luke everybody wanted to see in Last Jedi, and they didn't. And I love that they give it to you in Mando. I think it's even better in Mandalorian. I love that Mark Hamill got a chance to play him in that. I think it's just awesome. I just love Luke. He is exactly who I was as a kid watching the first movie. I aspired to the horizon. I have moments still where I have to sit back and go, Al, just where are you now? Don't stop looking at the horizon, man. Like, I've said that to myself out loud, where it's like, don't be looking at the suns right now. You need to be where you are. And I just love it. He's top 2 to me, because I just absolutely love Luke Skywalker and his whole arc, his whole story. I would have been fine if we got the Luke you want from The Last Jedi. I am fine with the Luke I got in The Last Jedi. I just love him. I love him so much. I do wish we would have gotten more of how he is handled in Rise of Skywalker, but whatever.
I wish we had gotten to see him have a family. I do.
I'm okay with him not. I didn't love those novels. And I never loved that full idea, but that would be a cool discussion. I think we should maybe next week talk about the Force, how the Force is utilized, and the way of the Jedi and the way of the Sith would be a fun discussion.
Yeah.
But who is your number 2? Because we should probably wrap up here.
My number 2, because one of the biggest strengths of Star Wars are their villains. And I have been enamored with their villains. From this, I put number 2, Thrawn.
I was expecting Darth Vader. Wow. I love that. That's not, I wasn't expecting it, and I should have, knowing who you are. Yep. But I love that.
Dude, the moment that I read that as a young, I think I was in middle school, right when I read that series of books, I was enamored with Thrawn. The Moriarty of Star Wars, he always has a plan. He's always researching his enemy. He knows his weakness. He knows his strengths. He knows where to apply it. He is a villain that doesn't have a lightsaber that I am just as terrified about.
I love the Moriarty comparison, Sorry to interrupt you there. And I think you could even say, he's the Batman of Star Wars. He's a villain, but he's the Batman. He's not a superpowered being, but he still kicks booty.
Right.
Sorry, continue.
And it's kind of like, I mean, not exactly an apt comparison, but it's almost like your non-powered superheroes in the MCU compared to your powered superheroes. The problem is in that particular area, like I think your power differentials there are just off the charts.
Yeah.
Whereas in Star Wars, it's like, yes, we have the fantastical superhero ability of the Force is on a lot of these character sides, and not to mention they happen to have lightsabers that can cut through damn near anything except for kurtosis. But Thrawn is the guy that goes through. He does the research. He finds out the weaknesses of all of them.
Yeah.
And is able to research his enemy and apply all of that to them. And he's not the dude that's running around like, oh, I need to build this like super powerful, super like Death Star killing laser that's going to strike fear into the rest of the galaxy. No, he takes the tools that he has and understands how to apply them. He is going to bring shock and awe, but it's all been calculated, and it's all being done with a massive application of force rather than a massive terror weapon. Anyways.
Yeah.
You're number one.
I'm with you. Real quick, I apologize for the you viewers on YouTube if I switch from different angles at times. Some tech issues that I have just been made aware of. But just be prepared for that. Anyway, my number one is Daddy One Kenobi. Let's just be straight about it. I have loved Obi-Wan. When I eventually feel I am in a financial space to do it, I'm going to buy the like expensive replica of his lightsaber because I just love him. I love him. And my first exposure was Ian McGregor, because my first exposures, I've said on the show in our first ever episode, was a Phantom Menace and him fighting Maul. And I was like, I've got to know more about this. And then, Alec Guinness obviously is RIP to another absolute monster legend. And he is amazing. I think Ian McGregor does nothing but add. There's a reason that fans have been like, dude, Kathy, why are you not doing an Obi-Wan show? It makes no logistical sense because there's not a person alive who doesn't love Ian's portrayal of Obi-Wan and doesn't think it doesn't do Alec Guinness justice. And I love him. He's the mentor. He mentors me. He's just the best. And I wish they had used him better in the sequel trilogy. I really do. And I can't wait for his show. He is so awesome in all three movies. He's funny. He's quippy. I love his arc in Clone Wars. And when we talk about the Force kind of as a whole and the attachment thing, talking about like Luke having kids and stuff, I love how he is used with when he falls in love. And yeah. I love all of that. I love his arc. Obi-Wan Kenobi, when he finally defeats Darth Maul and the way he does it with changing of his stance, it is amazing. Obi-Wan will forever and always be my favorite character. I adore Obi-Wan baloney. I love his goofy stance doing the little, I love it. I absolutely love it. Who's your number one?
His goofy stance to Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Oh, love it. That's awesome. One of my favorite Star Wars moments. Numero uno with a bullet.
Oh, ASMR.
Vader. I love Vader. I love it. I love it.
Are you going Vader or Anakin and Vader? You doing the whole shebang?
Darth Vader.
Okay. So you don't really care for him?
Well,
because I would count Vader up to when he cuts. When he becomes Vader is when he cuts off the hand of Mace Windu to me. And when he does not become Vader is when he decides to grab the Emperor and throw him down. All of that in between, I think, is Vader.
For me, where the bulk of this lies is 4 through 6.
Okay.
He is my number one. He's my number one villain. Period.
Oh, I think
Of
so
all
too.
time.
I think he's the greatest
And
villain ever.
the not only with his physical towering presence that he brings when he's on screen, to the costume design that they have on him, and
Yeah.
the voice that they bring. Are you kidding me? With James Earl Jones,
With
he is.
the tech kind of over it too. It's just awesome.
Yes. He is just a absolute monster. He terrified me and enthralled me as a child from the first moment that we see him walk onto the CR90. Oh my god, he is just the perfect villain, and has one, like you said earlier, he has one of the best arcs in all of Star Wars. So like in my mind he was a little cheapened from like the sequel movies. However, I thought that with the Clone Wars, that really
It
really
helps.
elevated the character of Anakin for me. But the power that we get and the impact that it's made on cinema by what we get with Darth Vader, I just don't think it's comparable.
You can take a photo of Darth Vader to any country in the world and show it to just about anybody, and they will know who it is without
Yeah.
having to speak the language. And I think that's awesome. I agree with you. I think he's the greatest villain ever put pen to paper. I think he is. I think he's the best villain in cinema. I think he's the best villain in novels. Granted, I don't read a lot, but I think he is the best of the best, and I love him, and I love the way he's used. And one of my favorite stories, and I think it was a bold decision for George to make him Luke and Leia's father. Um, and one of my favorite, and I think that adds so many more layers to how great of a villain he is. But when one of the best stories is when Luke, or when Mark Hamill talks about the original script, said that Vader would say, Obi-Wan is your father. And then they brought him in, Kirshner brought him in and gave him the piece of paper that said, I am your father. And I just love it where Mark Hamill looks at Kasdan and not Kasdan, looks at Kirshner and George and goes, "Is this true?" And I love that Kirshner goes, "Well, search your feelings. we're gonna go with it." So, and I think that's just it's such a cool moment. Vader is awesome, man. Vader's awesome. I love him. And then Rogue One comes out and says, "Hey, let's show you what Vader can do." And I'm gonna point this out forever. And I'm taking a shot at a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours who we play Call of Duty with quite a bit. And I guarantee you he does not listen to this show. So, and I will say this to his face. But when Force Awakens came out, a good buddy, friend of the show, our good buddy Zach, said to me, Kylo Ren is more powerful than Darth Vader. And I rolled around. I couldn't handle it. And I said, why? Why do you think that? And he goes, well, I've never seen Vader stop a blaster bolt. And I was like, first of all, Vader literally just puts up his hand and just goes, pew, 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 and just absorbs them. He doesn't physically stop it, but he could. And I remember going onto the internet and hearing a lot of people felt the same way, that Kylo Ren was a more powerful villain. And I could not believe what I was hearing. I was like, this is insane. And I think Gareth Edwards, my boy from the raid, who knows how to do action, said, look, some people believe this, and we've never really seen Vader slaughter in the movies. Let's see Vader destroy. And then he does it. I mean, it's one thing when you see Luke do it in Mandalorian. Luke is definitely going very Jedi, but he is going full force murder, and I love it. When he shows up, and that scene is so, when you just hear the voice, and then the red lightsaber ignites in the smoke, and you just hear open fire, and they all start shooting, and he's blocking them, and he's stopping the blasters, and he's raising people up as
the
he's
gun away, hitting the top as he's taking people out, putting them on the top of the ceiling. Oh my god! And then the fear in that trooper's voice when he closes the door. he hits the lever and he's like, what?
Or when the one guy turns around, he's like, they're yelling, open the door, and they realize they can't get it open, but there's just a little crack, and he just is like, turns back and he goes, just take it, man! Take it and run! And even when he just stands, I think it's such a great segue in episode 4 when he just stands at the end of the ship and he can breathe in space because he's got the thing on, and he's just looking at this ship going, knowing what's about to happen. It's just so awesome, and I can't wait when we do our rewatch. I think if we do this at all, I think those two need to be a double feature. I think it needs to be Rogue One ends, pop in immediately episode 4 because they play off each other so freaking well.
The other Vader moment that I was totally just thinking of as you're talking about this that I might actually like a little bit better was in Jedi Fallen Order. Dude,
it is so good when he shows up.
You just hear, oh man, like you're sitting there and you're like, oh man, this is a really hard boss fight again. That I just
It took me 5 times to win that really hard boss fight. I'm not a gamer. It was tough. I struggled.
I was playing on the second to highest difficulty, and I think I recorded about 31 different attempts.
I also was, and then I finally was like, I'm not finishing this. I couldn't beat the third boss. I was like, I have to go lower. I'm okay with it. I just am here for the story and my fun time with BD1.
But dude, like we're sitting there talking about it. We think we have her convinced. All of a sudden, you hear the off in the distance, and then the boots start to come, and you're like, "Oh, motherfucker!"
It's amazing.
Dude, if you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, "Oh, like I didn't have any of that spoiled for me," and then the minute I started to hear those, I was like, "Oh no, this can't be happening. I'm about to get nuked," and then. I don't know if you read the flavor text of because they do like each enemy that you fight against, and they say with Darth Vader is the master of the Sith. You cannot fight him; you can only run.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, man,
it reminds me of the Force Unleashed because I think he is so good in the Force Unleashed game. But I love him. I love Vader. But we should probably wrap up the show. We've been going on.
Yep.
All right, so I want to thank again to our patrons. Apologize as we are kind of figuring out tech if there's some weird issues for whether it's audio or visual, but we are figuring it out. We're getting closer to what I think our goal is here. So thank you again to our patrons. Please, guys, go get this merch. It's so comfortable. Please, there's some really cool Valentine's Day stuff we have for this upcoming Sunday. And it's not too late to get it before then. We got some really cool plays off of Casablanca, which I have on VHS right there. I've never told this, Tanner, but I anytime I go to like a Goodwill, I always go check the VHS section and see if there's any really cool old school VHS, and I just like to snag it for $2 because I think that's a cool kind of collector's thing to have. It's where I got all of these. Found all of these at either a garage sale or something like that, but. So for another happy landing, that is it for episode 5. Thank you, Tanner. Love doing this.
Thank you, sir.
All right, and see you. Remember to like, subscribe, share, and we'll thanks for watching, Mom, and we'll see you next time, guys.
Another happy landing.
Another happy landing.